I thought at least a smartwatch would make me smart, but all it made me feel was like a slave of one more device when it comes to charging them. But of course, there's more to that story, otherwise this video wouldn't have been this long. Hey everyone, Mukul here. So I had my eyes set on the Galaxy Watch 4 for a really long time, as I had heard a lot of good things about the WearOS. It now runs on WearOS. Guess we are finally wearing operating systems now. Well, this isn't a review video on the Galaxy Watch 4 because I wanted to focus more on the aspect if a smartwatch can really improve how we live our daily unsmart lives. I've had a few smart bands in the past, but I never could really spare my money on a smartwatch, especially when they cost so much freaking money, and because of the fact I love my freaking money. So I kept patiently waiting for the Watch 4 to drop in price, and I was able to get it for around 12,500 rupees in one of the recent Samsung sales. So thanks Samsung, I guess. Well, you would like how the Galaxy Watch 4 looks like if you like simple and elegant designs on wearable stuff you buy. Elegant because the simple design just doesn't let you talk much about its design. You can of course add a variety of different straps if plain old boring colors bore you. If you are someone like me who hates loading their arms or wrist with useless junk on them, then you might like the Watch 4 as the watch feels pretty lightweight and doesn't feel like a burden on my wrist. The strap of the watch is pretty soft and feels quite comfy. It does accumulate a little bit of sweating inside of it when you're wearing it, as it is something that is on the inside, of course. So I just hope it never goes inside the watch and harms its tiny little circuits. That said, the watch has an IP68 rating and you can swim for around 30 minutes to a 50-meter depth in a pool. If you are a swimmer, then this is a crucial fact which you must consider before buying a smartwatch. But because I don't know swimming, I give a hard skip on that, along with all the million other exercises which I don't do. I also bought and installed this little screen guard shell on the watch, as I had heard the edges of this watch specifically wears off easily. It does change how it looks overall, and it also dims the brightness a bit too. I might change this to just a protective shell around the rims later, when I finally agree to spend more money on the watch. But I do love how bright the screen on the watch is. So trust me when I say this, that these small display watches truly deserves AMOLED on their displays. Because the screen size on these watches is so small in itself that a relatively dim screen won't give a feel-good factor from a watch when you stare at it, especially when you're under a bright lit sun. I went for the 44mm size as the deal was only on that size. Talk about being thrifty. I am glad I chose the bigger screen, as this is nothing but basically a round smartphone. The bigger the display, the better for you to navigate through the watch. What was honestly terrible was that an update of just 340 MB took a long freaking time to get installed and download on the watch. I guess that happened because it tried to do that over Bluetooth, so make sure you configure the Wi-Fi from the get-go as soon as you turn on the watch. And if you decide to use the watch as it updates, you would feel like throwing it off, as the lagging interface would be real as hell. But otherwise, I am so glad that the touch response mostly feels fluid. But I've seen the watch sometimes respond to my actions a bit slower than it usually does, especially when I'm trying to visit the recent app screen. And I'm able to easily ignore this rare bumpy behavior just because of the fact that I've spent so much less money on this watch as compared to someone who might have bought this watch right when it was launched. I suddenly realized this psychological game: pay less and regret less. Oh. And yes, the round shape does cut a lot of the US stuff, and this is where the real tricky question will lie for a lot of buyers. I personally like seeing my watches to be round, but the extra corner space a square or a rectangular watch would give for the many tiny elements of a UI, well, I'm pretty sure that no one would mind that extra screen space on those shapes too. So you have to weigh in if you want to like what you see, or if you want to like what you see and use to. Yeah, pretty tricky life, man. The Watch 4 is basically a tiny smartphone with some caveats, of course, which I will share as I speak more words in your ears. Minus the fact that it needs a smartphone to be connected to always if you didn't get the variant that supports SIM cards in it. And because I cheaped out proudly, I kinda got the crippled Wi-Fi version here. But even this crippled version has two major advantages. A, this helped me save a buttload of money. And B, this means noticeably more battery life from the watch, as there will be no 4G connection hunting from the watch itself. It's fun to be able to reply from the watch itself for messages I received on WhatsApp, etc. But I seriously feel it's pretty hard to write messages on this tiny keyboard, as I can be seen here struggling to do so. So unless you have pointy fingers, this experience might vary for you. And I guess this is why the default keyboard is a T9 keyboard. Wait. I'm pretty sure some of you might not even know what the heck that is. Well, the T9 keyboard is a keyboard that used to be the standard keyboard on all the candy bar phones that are almost extinct now, but having this on this super tiny screen is actually quite handy. When I received the watch, I immediately installed Gboard and I jumped to try out swipe typing, but even that was hard for my fat fucking fingers. Fat fingers. But the best part of the watch is that I can read all the text on apps like WhatsApp and it won't mark those messages read till I actually visit the app on the phone. This utility alone has saved a lot of introverted lives, like mine. And I just love the fact that I can use complete Google Map navigation on the watch too. This is going to be pretty handy if you ride on a bike with or without a motor on it. Motor on it or in it. If you use a lot of YouTube music and want to play music from the watch, then first of all you have to buy YouTube Premium. Aha! Google finally got you. But that's not really the weird part. The weird part is that the app will first download the track on your watch and then it will try to hunt for Bluetooth devices around to connect to and then play music from it. Yeah, I'm never going to try that ever. But what really saved my soul here is that if you play a music or stream a music from your phone to any of the smart speakers around your house or any of the other speakers, then the watch will instantly show the controls to navigate through the different music tracks. And this is the kind of automation I dig. But this sometimes behaved buggy and the watch asked me to check my phone sometimes. And this is something which might push you to call your watch a little piece of shit. You can also pick up only cellular calls from the watch itself. This again will be very handy for people who ride on two-wheelers or more, or for people who are as lazy as me that they can't get up from their chair to get their phone which is like 2 or 3 feet away from them, or the ones who rather prefer to like disturb their environment with the tiny spam call noises that the smartwatch might make most of the time because nobody calls you as you have no friend. The mics on the watch are okay though and not super great because I mean just look at the size of the watch.
Hello, this is Mr. Mubot. Hello, this is Mr. Mubot. Hello, this is Mr. Mubot. Hello, this is Mr. Mubot.
And obviously, as expected, and this should be very obvious, the speakers on the watch aren't very loud. So the traffic noises outside or ceiling fans or ACs inside, well, all of those noises will eat all the tiny sounds this watch will try to make.
Hello, this is Mr. Mubot. Trying to record this video at 1:20 a.m. in the night because nights are like dark night.
I am pretty sure a lot of people will buy the watch seeing the long list of exercise modes it offers. And if you're someone who does a variety of exercises, then the kind of in-depth data the specific watch offers will make you go gaga over it. Gaga! But I am someone who just walks at most, and I do love doing that till my knees hurt actually. Don't catch my bluff. So it was nice to see the watch auto-detecting the activity and asking me if I had been a good boy and have been walking for 10 minutes straight, and if it should activate the walking exercise mode. Yes, people like me firmly believe that walking is an exercise too. The step accuracy was pretty good and the difference between that and me manually counting my steps was minimal. Yeah, counting my steps like the Stone Age way. I was also much relieved to see that the watch doesn't count steps when I was riding on my motorbike. Apart from that, I at most check how stressed I am and mostly the watch returns the too cool to be true result for me. But during the usage of an activity, if you lose the activity screen, then to go back to it, you have to dwell deep inside the watch. Or you can double tap the top key to go back to the recent app, that is if that activity was the last app. Or if you have customized the key to show all of your recent apps, then you can also hop right back to it from here too. I also appreciate the fact that there are a few useful gestures on these smartwatches, otherwise they'd be as good as a dead paperweight or something which could have made you look crazy, touching your smartphone and the frigging watch all the time. And if you feel like turning them off will save you a drastic amount of battery, then just don't bother. All that will save you is a bunch of battery peanuts for your little robotic squirrels. Chip and Dale. The user interface on this watch is pretty clean and I love it, but I am honestly having a hard time navigating through this digital bezel. This makes me feel quite sure that the physical rotating bezel on the Watch 4 Classic would have made me fall in love with it, because it's also good to sometimes touch physical things and feel the real essence of life. What? Google Assistant recently launched for the Watch 4 and it is so freaking buggy that I don't really wish to cover it in depth here. For example, this is how it announces the weather currently.
Wednesday in Noida, it will be sunny with the high of 37 and a low of 28.
And if I wish to run any command, for example, if I want the watch to start the walking activity, Bixby could easily do so. So yeah, clearly it still has to learn so much about the watch ecosystem. The charging on this thing is pretty slow, and if you are used to the fast charging habits of your phone, except for the many millions of Apple users, then you would just dread seeing how slow the watch actually charges. So I make a habit of charging it every night, and yes, I hate it. All the smart bands I've used in the past used to last at least a week, but because no one took the Galaxy Watch 4 in their band, the Watch 4 decided to become a watch and made sure that we constantly watch the battery indicator on it. So yeah, all this experience made me feel that a smartwatch is truly a smartwatch, but we do need to understand what our use case specifically is. And there is definitely a training curve for our brain and bodies to adapt for such wearables, and we have to adapt to the many features the watch offers that can in some way be beneficial for our daily lives. I mean, literally there are so many features and these many exercise modes that you have to filter out the ones which are truly beneficial for your life. So if you generally love watches and you don't mind them having these many circuits inside of them, then some of the features a smartwatch offers are going to be very handy, because it will be on your hand. The Watch 4 is an insanely detailed piece of tech, and it's amazing how far we have come in terms of technology. That's the biggest cliche line ever made in the history of all the technological evolution. It almost completely behaves like a smartphone, except for the fact that you can't really take pictures from it, or play music on it, or play videos on it, and can't play games too. Now, does that make it sound terrible? But all the other logical features a wearable should have are definitely present on the current smartwatches like the Galaxy Watch 4. That said, I am not quite sure how justified their launch pricing is, but quite frankly, that's the only time they can really milk humans rather than cows. But a pricing of around 15 or 18,000 rupees or 250 US dollars for something like this is quite justified. So if you like my thoughts on the video, you can buy from the affiliate links below and support the channel. You can also hop onto a Discord server for more chit chat on relevant content. So stay safe, human. That's all for today. MewBot and his over smartwatch out, which is of course being charged right now.